Hello everyone, this is Johan Apollo with my fourth Happy Melly Coffee call with some of the members of the Happy Melly community. Every couple of weeks I like to have a chat about a difficult, challenging question. Anyone can ask that question. We have a Trello board for that. And then we vote on the questions. And this week the most popular question turned out to be as follows. I will read it out to you. Look it up. It is, how can we engage not only employees but also upper management in collaborating together on the emergence of an agile culture? It was asked by Claude Emond. I'll repeat the question, it's a long one. How can we engage not only employees but also upper management in collaborating together on the emergence of an agile culture? And I have with me a couple of people who join me. They are Durgesh from India, Andy from the US, and Alex is on the chat. And I don't remember where Alex is from. He might be able to tell us on the chat window. US. All right. Thank you, Alex. So my first consideration with all these questions that I ask is usually, is this a good question? Is this a question that makes sense? Can we make the question better even? So what do you guys think? Is there a way that we can improve this question? Does anyone have an idea?
So for my understanding, being an agile coach, I've been facing this problem since long, because most of the people in this at this level there they still have from that mindset of the traditional approach or the management through the one you talk about is something like they still feel that practice or that essence is still there in the mind. So as an agile coach, we sometimes feel like yes. Why I joined today is because this was a major challenge for me in my career of this agile coach, which I really found in all of the organizations over here in India. Whenever we start the transformation process, we face this kind of problem a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, looks like it's a good question, and that is why it's been office hours, and I joined this to make sure I get some idea.
Okay, so you really like the question, Durgesh.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for your input. I see a message by Alex on Slack, and he says, "Great question. I'm actually in the midst of speaking with 2 Scrum Masters at an organization that are struggling to get their managers on board with more modern management techniques." So he recognizes it as well, which is probably the reason it got many votes. That other people recognize it too. What's your thinking, Andy?
I'm looking at the flip side of this question as I'm pondering feedback is, what should we not be doing, or what is counterproductive in terms of upper management involvement on the emergence of Agile? What works against it, which might help us answer the question of what can we do to encourage the emergence of it?
Okay, so you would like to do an out-of-the-box thinking exercise and turn the question on its head, like what is preventing it from happening? Is that, do I understand you correctly there?
Yeah, that's a good succinct way to put it.
Yeah. So what is the obstacle to the agile culture emerging? That's an interesting way to rephrase it, indeed. I have my own consideration here. I read a story once in one of the complexity books that I like to read, and this one was by Patricia Shaw. And she said she had been in an organization where they had one change after another, and all employee engagement programs and change management programs, whatever, and nothing ever stuck, nothing worked. And then people were asking themselves the question, why does it never work? Why do these change programs always fail? And at some point, people decided to get out of the office and with a couple of people just going to a coffee bar and having an informal chat with that researcher, Patricia Shaw, and asked her this question. And then her reply was, well, what you are doing now is the beginning. It is getting out of the office and doing something that is uncommon, that is non-conventional, having a chat with each other at a coffee bar. This is agility, so in our terminology. So she always sort of turned the question on its head. Instead of implementing one change program after the other, or seeking the best employee engagement program, it is people's own approach to those programs. I just read a similar blog post just a couple of days ago from someone who said, look at any organization where people are fully engaged, where they are agile, where they are happy, and there's one thing that you'll know for sure: they do not have an employee engagement program.
That's right.
Because if you even think of having an employee engagement program, there you have the problem. It is, and that is, I think, the same with agility program and change program. That is the core of the problem. Is I think deeper. It's people's own attitude. So coming back to the question, it is phrased as how can we engage not only employees but also upper management in collaborating together. I would like to dig a bit deeper and then wonder, why do people feel that they need to engage upper management? Why is that not happening? And I think that is more or less the same as what Andy is referring to. What is blocking this from happening? I don't have the answer, mind you. There's not a 1, 2, 3 step approach, but I think the question can be made a bit deeper than it is phrased here. Do you recognize that, Durgesh, in your company? Because you said you've been struggling with it. Do you have employee engagement programs and agility programs in your company?
Yes, we do. But again, sometimes it mixes up with that, doing good things in the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
So although we get started doing those things, but at some moment, because of the policy of the company or because of the mindset of our management, looks like we just slowly get into that momentum back again. Even we get started with the agility mindset, we move on back to the same pace and same place again. So that really becomes a bit tough, and that is why I'm here to understand how exactly we can keep that momentum once we start with that agility and employee engagement.
Right.
So,
okay.
So you're able to identify.
Hello, you just joined us. From where?
Hi, Jagan. This is I'm Ankur Nag, and I am working in the creative health as a life coach. We're working together. Yeah, for Durgesh. Good to see you.
Okay, great to see you too. Can you make sure that you all turn your microphone off when you're not talking, because there could be background noise.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much. So, Andy, continue.
So following up on what Durgesh was saying, it seems like they make progress. You described it as keeping the momentum. A counterforce that sucks them back into the previous status quo. And I think that may be one kernel of this question that we're exploring is, not why do we need management to be involved at all? Are they part of the counterforce? I'm assuming that if we want to collaborate with them, we want their support, their encouragement, but does that make it a top-down initiative, which seems counterintuitive to Agile emerging? Do we just need their support, or do we just need them to accept change? I'm not really sure what the answers are to any of these. And I'm exploring the same thing as some of you, the other teams here on the call. right? Where does it come from? Does the implementation come top down, bottom up, sideways?
I think you have a good point there, Andy. I think for many things we do not need permission from management, upper management, and we don't even need their engagement. We just make it happen. One story that I often share is that I invited people from all over the company many years ago for dinner at my house, and that nobody had ever done that before, and people loved it. And I made them cook in my kitchen. I had recipes that I prepared. I did all the groceries, and I put all the kitchen utensils and the pots and pans. Everything was ready, and then I asked them to cook together. And there were people from all over the company, like human resources, account management, software development, and whatever. I didn't ask anyone permission to do this. I just did it because I thought that's might be fun, and people loved it. I did it 6 or 7 times, and people asked, hey, when is it my turn to cook at your house? Because that sounds so awesome. And that's what I mean with you don't need to wonder how to engage someone. You just do something that is uncommon, that is out of the box, that people haven't done before, and then they might follow your lead and follow your example and come up with their own interesting way of collaborating and having fun and being weird and getting to know each other. And that is, I think, also what Patricia Scholl mentioned, what she meant in her book. I forgot the title of the book. I apologize for that. But when she said it was when people got out of the office and were drinking a coffee at the coffee bar, complaining about nothing ever working, and then she said, well, this is step 1. You're getting you're having a coffee together. That is the first step. So yeah, that's my thinking.
There's another step that you either consciously or unconsciously introduce with your dinner parties. There's no hierarchy in your kitchen. It's not as if managers decided, well, I am going to cook this dish. You guys be my sous chefs, like we are in the office. So maybe the question is almost artificial, that we're introducing a concept, or we're hanging on to the concept of the hierarchy by having this concept of upper management and needing them to collaborate. If we destroy the hierarchy, or not destroy it, ignore it, and just go about our experiments, does that work?
Yeah, I think that's the point indeed that I'm trying to make as well. I think you're on the same level here as I am. There are plenty of things that you can do that are unrelated to the hierarchy that you can do without anyone's permission, like organize a sports competition or whatever. Go outside and play football or soccer or whatever you want to do. With people in the company from lots of parts in the organization, and then you will start making connections in a network fashion instead of in a hierarchical fashion. You will be connecting dots, and by strengthening that network, you will de-emphasize the grip that the hierarchy has on the organization. And you will be able to introduce ideas later, like, wouldn't it be a good idea if maybe we do this or that? At some point, indeed, you need permission from management to do something like tear down walls between offices. I've heard of some companies, some people doing that without the permission of managers, but it could be a dangerous thing to do in some environments. So yeah, for some things you need management's permission. But I think you can go a long way without an engagement program for management, which is how I read the card.
The thought comes to mind of simply doing what you suggest, small, low risk or medium risk exercises with people who are interested. And I see as a really valuable addition to that is promoting the success or the failure, promoting the learning that comes from those exercises wider than the people who are just simply participating. And so maybe there's a key in there for that layer of upper management. Maybe we don't need their permission, but we do ultimately need their support somehow because of the hierarchy that exists. And simply by demonstrating the learning and celebrating whatever that accomplishes might include them in this collaborative mindset.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So how do we communicate success? We don't, I find it difficult to ask for permission to do an experiment. That seems so counterintuitive to an agile environment. So you do an experiment, you succeed or fail, you learn something, you do another one, you do another one. I think it would be valuable, and I personally don't do enough of this, to over-communicate whatever we learn. Because other teams, other pockets can either pick up on the success or pick up on the failure and take it to the next level. That might be a very good way in a hierarchical situation to bring that upper management team in to say, well, yeah, keep doing what you're doing. Seems to be working. Don't understand it. Right?
Yeah.
It's not the traditional model of HR in, doing the engagement program, but it seems to be working.
Right. Yeah.
So I'd be curious, to explore how people celebrate those successes beyond the implementation team. How we
that's a good point. One thing that I share in my book, in my workout book, is the big ship's bell that I had arranged to be hung up in the office, that we rang for everything that we wanted to celebrate. And I just told the CEO that I thought it would be a good idea to have something like that. And he said, oh, yeah, that makes sense. He was actually the one who found the bell and then gave it to me, which I thought was awesome. But that was cross company. All the celebrations that we had, they usually involve food, of course, cookies or cake or whatever, best way to celebrate. And people could ring the bell for anything. There were no rules for ringing the bell. If you want to celebrate something, whether it was finishing a project or having a baby, it didn't matter. You could ring the bell, and there will be cookies and cake, and we would celebrate. And that's I came up with it, and I was CIO at the time. That was pretty high level, but anyone could have come up with such a solution and just put up something in the office that makes a lot of noise and start celebrating. You don't need someone's permission for that. Yeah,
I've done similar things when everybody was co-located. The concierge bell at the front desk of every hotel, the small little ding ding. I bought a bunch of those and put them on the boards that teams were using for stand-up. And anytime they moved a card to done, they rang the bell. So the morning 9 o'clock hour was full of bells. My current challenge is with distributed teams, with remote teams. How do you ring the virtual ship's bell? I wonder what does that look like?
Yeah. Good.
Kudo cards are nice, but they tend to be one-to-one. But I wonder how we do the virtual ship's bell or the big gong or what anybody can ring.
Well, it depends on the tools that you're using. At Happy Melly, we use Slack, as you know. So one thing that you could use is a message across an entire channel to celebrate something that would generate a notification for everyone. When they don't like it, I'm sure they will let you know.
They'll mute it or close it. I like that.
Exactly. So you could even make it optional and make a celebrations channel that people can join voluntarily and then have all the celebrations there or something. It's really tool dependent. We should ask Lizette. She is the tool and a remote working expert here. She should.
I'll take that as an action item. I'll talk to her.
A good one. But coming back to the question, Durgesh, do you have you want to say something?
Yeah. So, yeah, I understand. I mean, what Andy said, and I agree to the point that yes, we really need a support of upper management in the movement, of the agile culture movements. But at the same time, we feel like as an agile coach, we are not the authority because most of the authorities in here we have seen in India, it really has been it's been driven by the managers or the top management, wherein there are many aspects that involves. I mean, we try to do things in the company, but at the same time, it's something like you have some foundations. You need to go and have some buy-ins for them. Hey, we want to execute this so that we can get this output and see whether we are failure or how we are going to take this. But that is very much important, and I understand that yes, support is required, but what if there is something missing from support side or something they feel like, hey, this is something mad you are doing. I mean, that becomes a bit tough for an agile coach to, although I understand that we can go outside, okay, we have that freedom, go outside, have some place, go for soccer, and you can organize different events. But what originally we are trying to do is within the organization. But I feel the management's support and their engagement is very much important, and that's where I believe everyone in Indian companies we are facing that problem. It's not just a creative health; it's my third transformation I'm working with. So it's like I got this similar. It's something like that sticky that you, Jagan. I think you have given an example. You have the similar kind of question that comes in. So I got the similar kind of problem in of my transformations. These are the major problems.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, Durgesh. Ankur, you also wanted to add something there?
Yes, I think the important point here is that what Durgesh said, that is absolutely right, specifically in India. We spend on an average more than 6 to 8 months to win the trust of the management. That whatever the steps we are taking, that is in line with the organization growth. No, so it is that we first prove ourselves and say that yes, whatever we are doing, that is right, and that become a fortunate for us if we succeed. If somehow we get failed, then we lose the trust. So the experimentation part is very low and very I would say riskful for us. So like Durgesh said, it is very difficult to get the buying from the management. That is the reason, because there are a lot of approvals that are required if we want to do some experimentation within the organization. And if I will tell you the level of the approval that is required, even for recording the session, we need approval from the management. So at that level, it is difficult for us to do any experimentation. And when I read your book, we even Durgesh were reading that book, and we really love to do those things.
Yeah.
We might be something that is very different from what you have written, but yes, we really want to do that, and that really encourages us to move one step ahead in your life. Thank you so much.
So, well, thanks for your input, Ankur, and your Durgesh as well, of course. So, I think there are two sides to this issue. Like, you want to be here, but you are here, right? And that is a long way to go, depending on the organization that you're working in. Now, I am quite convinced that you can get like maybe halfway, as we discussed, without asking anyone's permission, by being self-organized, invite people to cook at your home and everything, whatever. There's all that we discussed. It gets you halfway. But some people even do not try this first half because they think they can't do this. It is called learned helplessness in science because they have been punished in the past, for example. But I'm convinced you can go a long way without anyone's permission. The problem is, of course, the other half. Indeed, where you do need permission for something, otherwise you get fired. And it is real in some organizations, depending on context. Well, what I've learned is you can only do what you want when you first do what they want. It is called building trust. Right? In order to change rules, in order to change the environment, you need those people who have the authority. You will have to get them on your side. So they will have to trust you. They will have to somehow feel that you understand their concerns. So one of the reasons that I was promoted to upper management was because I was able to talk business language. I was not only able to code, I also knew debit from credit. I could read a balance sheet. I knew what profit and income and all that stuff is. So I could talk with my CEO and understand his problems because they had real problems at upper management layers as well. So I had to make sure that I was not only talking the language of programmers, I was to management talking the language of management, gaining their trust, and also doing what was expected of me. Sometimes there were stupid things that I had to do, but I did it. Why? Because it built trust. And then after you build trust over time, then you can start discussing, can we change things a little bit? Like, for example, I have been in the office of project managers who showed me that the burned down charts on the walls that they use with their Scrum teams, and they were totally agile. But then when the Scrum teams left the room, they said, don't tell anyone, but they lifted the sheet and there was a Gantt chart underneath. They had Gantt charts too. And the project manager told me, he said, I need those Gantt charts to talk with my stakeholders. Otherwise, I will never have their trust. They don't understand burn down charts. So the project managers did the extra stuff of translating burn downs to Gantt and vice versa. He said, I don't mind because I want trust from both the Scrum teams and from upper management and stakeholders. And only when you gain the trust by doing things as they expect from you, talking their language, listening to their needs, then after a while you can discuss those stupid rules. Like at one point I discussed the stupid the clean desk policy with my boss. Yes, we had a clean desk policy, and I said it was nonsense. That every day at the end of the day we had to clean our desk and everything had to go in a box, and we had to put the box in a closet. And the next day we had to get the box out of the closet and take our stuff out. It was ridiculous. You cannot expect something like that from creative workers who are expected to be innovative. But discussing such stupid rules was only possible after I gained some trust with the CEO, that I understood his real concerns. He had some stupid solutions, but at least he tried. That's the best advice I can give. Anyone wants to add something to that?
So, yeah. So well said that yes, trust is a major, it plays really a major role in doing anything. I mean, I would say, but at the same time, the example that you gave is clean desk policy. I think we come from that sort of organization, having strict regulations, this and that. And I believe it's more of because the employees or they had some bad experience, the past experience, where in company they don't want to take, they believe that, okay, if we do this, this was the outcome. I mean, what we call as, the organizational process assets. I mean, the outcome that they got from the past, they keep on implementing that. Okay, let's bring in this policy, get this done, get that implemented so that we don't lose money. We don't have to invest this much, that much. We don't have to get into the stuff. So we come from that sort of organization, to be honest. And it becomes really tough when we really talk about trust, when we really talk about, agility, mindset, because human, as you said, we are very much complex. And once you start, if company is saying, okay, you should have a clean desk policy, the employee said, okay, really? You need a clean desk policy? We are not going to clean it. so, so that sort of, the mindset creates really problem for agile coaches, especially to get ahead with, the transformation process. And that we have been struggling long. And when we talk about agile, when we talk about Scrum, we are following Scrum here. It talks more about, okay, what part, but human side of aspects, I think we are missing. I never came across, when I came across this management tree, I found, yeah, this is what I was looking for, because most of the people, we do struggle with these areas. People can run their artifacts. They know what to do, how to do the ceremonies. They're well educated. But when we talk about the human, the complex system, I think that's very much complicated thing wherein we as an agile coach has to really work on.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Well said, Durgesh. And it made me think of one question to ask that many people forget about, but that is that you can also ask your top manager, what can I do for you? What is it that you need from me that I can do to make your life better, to make sure that the organization for you works as you want it? Like, I noticed with my CEO many years ago that he got calls from customers in the evening because they called him when there was a big problem with one of the websites that we had fucked up as software developers. The customers were not calling the software developers when we had released something that was buggy and shitty, and then everyone was going home, and then at 8 o'clock in the night, my CEO got the phone call from the customer screaming, why is the website down, or something like that. So I understood his need. He did not want to get phone calls from angry customers because of the crap that software developers had released. And I told him, well, I have exactly the solution that you need. It is called Scrum. He said, oh, do it. Whatever it takes. But make sure that I don't get such calls anymore, because we need better quality of our software. So, and of course, software developers also needed Agile and Scrum, but then for different reasons, because they had other problems on their side. But I was able to, as I said, discuss things in the needs and the language of the CEO, of top management. And then I gained trust. And then I said, okay, well, then I need some freedoms in order to implement this Agile stuff. And they said, yeah, sure, go ahead. It will be different in every organization, I'm sure, and some CEOs are more strict than others. But it all boils down to the same thing. Get that trust by understanding what they need and do it for them. And when you do it for them, then you can start negotiating the stupid rules to make more of a difference. But all in good time, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that I want to weave two thoughts of yours together, Jürgen. One is gaining their trust by understanding what they need, but also speaking to them in their language or looking at the world through their lenses. So you mentioned you were able to understand what the CFO needed from a financial basis, what the CEO needed from a customer satisfaction basis. I've in the past run into obstacles by trying to communicate with my own language of agility that was not the same language that the upper management was using. And so not only understanding what motivates them, but how they view the world and how they view their company and what's outside the company, I think is a vital element into this question that we're exploring, is how to collaborate with them. If you can't speak their language and understand their motivations and communicate with them, you'll get nowhere. Add to that the ability to translate and connect the dots back to your team, and then as the coach, we can really do something powerful.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, I think we had some good insights. It's nothing new, actually, but it's good to remind ourselves that this is what it's all about. About gaining trust and speaking people's language, understanding their motivation, because the motivation for the people at the top is quite different from the motivation of the people in other parts of the organization. So always understanding what they need, their language. And as I said, first part of this call, you don't need to ask permission or whatever for everything. You can do a lot of things in a self-organized, networked fashion to de-emphasize the hierarchy, to make people see that they can be agile and have fun and be productive by circumventing the hierarchy, basically. As I had people being agile in my kitchen, and they love that. They still refer to it even many years later, how much fun that was. But it taught them a certain mindset, at least. That's what I'd like to think. So anyways, thank you guys for joining. Any last wise words before we finish the call? Yep. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I will put the spotlight back on me. So thanks everyone for watching. This will be online pretty, and I will have this conversation regularly about other questions. That will be on the Trello board. I will share it separately on the Slack channel and probably in underneath the YouTube video on YouTube as well. So I hope to see you again in a couple of weeks for the next difficult, challenging question. And I might see some of you again. Andy, Durgesh, Ankor, thank you very much for your
thank you.
attending.
So now we'll be really looking forward for other sessions, because most likely we feel like, yes, we need your guidance, and we can really come up with things because we are now focusing more towards the people aspects, the cultural aspects, and not more towards the process things.
All right, thank you, Durgesh. And also thanks, Alex, for listening over the chat channel. I hope to see you again and have a nice weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Everyone. Bye.